All right, I'm excited about this one. First ever episode official of the Myriad Circle podcast that I've been thinking about doing for years. I didn't really have a way of doing this in a different way. I'm going to make sure that all of my stuff is working, though. Looks like the input's working because there's got to be some checks. It's a whole new scene, so you never know what's going to happen. Yep. Looks like everything's doing what it's supposed to do, and we're hearing everything we need to hear. So this is good. Okay. So, Myriad Circle, right? Normally I'm doing things like games and all the rest of that stuff, but I've been doing the stream of consciousness on this application called Wisdom, and I finally figured out a way to make sure that I can do it here. And, I don't know, just kind of bring that same sort of stream to everybody else, whoever's interested anyway. And, I want to see where it goes. So, for those who are not familiar with it, Wisdom is an application that is designed for people who are looking for a different community, I think. They're looking for a different community in the sense that they're looking for someone and or a group of people just who have a like mind about things that are, they're just kind of seeking out a different answer. Because we usually get shoved in with answers that are all about, like Twitter and the rest of it, where it's just constant, never-ending. Strangely, the music would follow up with this, but a more negative view is kind of what's promoted all over the place, and we have to be able to find somewhere that's kind of more like a refuge over that, because Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, I mean, it's either political or it's socially unacceptable or rage and yada yada, misinformation. Like, it's just such a mess. I came across Wisdom by happenstance. A friend of mine recommended it, and I jumped on it, and now I have pushed over a larger number of followers than I ever thought possible in the span of only 2.5, maybe 3 weeks. So I'm in the hundreds, and all I've been doing is just talking. So I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm just going to bring it on so that I can start pushing this out into the various platforms that I have, and I'm going to start that right now. Hey Kaz, welcome. Yeah, so this is going to be a short one because I do actually intend to complete and go through with the session for later tonight. We've been stalled or delayed or have had some complications jump in our way, and Shadows has taken a hit, so we haven't been able to do our Thursday night fight, and that's what we're going to be doing whenever I get done with this. So, and hey Kaz, how do I sound over there? Is it pretty clean? Because I'm using my snowball right now, and it's seems to be working a hell of a lot better than where I left it, if I'm being honest. Alright, the main premise here, you'll see that Wisdom is loaded. It's in that secondary screen there, and that's going to be where we can see who jumps in if anybody decides that they're going to hop on. I'm going to hit the button here, and then I'm going to introduce how it is that I'm doing this and the fact that I'm on Twitch. So it's going to be a little bit of a fluff at the start of this, just to help explain to anybody who else is going to be showing up on this. So here we go. Let's do it. It's pretty fast. Okay. Yep, getting that sign. Looks like it's working. All right, good evening. This is the first official episode of the Myriad Circle podcast for me and everyone else. My mic sounds wrong. Of course it does. Well, I'm going to keep going until I can figure out what that might be. I checked the recording and the rest of it. On a web mic? Nope. Let me just check to make sure the input's right. Yeah, it says microphone blue snowball. Strange. Well, let me fix it for the stream in this case. We're going to go for here. We're going to change. Okay, you can let me know if this sounds any better, okay? Because I might have to split the mic channels. Okay, we'll just deal with it this way then. That's perfectly fine because my blue snowball's working this way. Okay. Yeah, good. So this is going to be the setup then. I was wondering about that. And welcome, by the way. I knew you said you were going to be dropping by, so it looks like you had been waiting. Right, so this is like the first episode of this particular podcast, the Myriad Circle, and it looks like we've already got somebody jumping on in, so why don't we do it now? I will let you in just a moment because I want to give this a little introduction here. Um, the biggest thing about this is that it is a collection of minds, and the most important thing I want to do is just get people together to talk about. I might want to actually lower the volume inside of OBS. How about that? Nope, I think we're good. Okay. I want to bring everybody together to at least, just kind of throw a discourse around and get familiar so that we can start doing this stuff. And I'm excited about this because this stream of consciousness stuff has been so awesome, and I've been able to learn so much, and I've been talking to really awesome people. So here we go. Let's bring on our guest here. It looks like it's Michael Kent. I talked to you earlier today. I'm excited to hear what you got to say. Let's go. Got about an hour, roughly, before I tap out. Hi.
Hey, brother. How's it going?
Oh, it's going great. We're going to turn you up a little bit.
All right. Yeah, my setup ain't very good. It's a phone. But
yeah. No, let's go ahead. But you seemed like you were sort of struck whenever we were talking in chat earlier today, and you were like sort of eager to show up. So I wasn't able to listen to your talk specifically. I was busy at the time, but you were very incensed.
Oh, it's fine. Right. I just said what I needed to say and got off. It wasn't nothing, in too in depth. But I just got home. I just got home from taking care of kids.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just happened to sit down and finally relax, and I seen your podcast was up. So.
Well. Cool. What was it that struck you earlier? I'm really kind of interested because you and I were both definitely talking the same language as far as I'm concerned. And for context, because I'm not just doing this strictly on Wisdom right now. I'm actually on Twitch doing a stream and kind of getting in there. So context will start to matter here in a little while. But as part of this, I'll just say that. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I was saying it's spider medicine is what this is. It's connecting to one another. It's going in through the interwebs,
yeah.
It is. It really is. And, like shamans back in the day never thought of it to be like this, as connected as we are. But it's working. We're weaving our webs. We're connecting with one another. We're feeling the vibration. We're coming out of the dark, out of the corners.
Yeah. Definitely. I think spider medicine is a perfect way to describe it. I've been pretty much doing that only for like 3 weeks, like I said, and it's been like explosive, just really, really explosive. I don't even know how to describe it. I wound up with all kinds of different things available to me rather rapidly, and I wasn't expecting that. And, just trying to make sense of it, and then cracked this idea about doing it on my Twitch channel as well as here. And now, like, everything's kind of coming together, but I really look forward to these live conversations specifically because it means I'm talking to all kinds of people, and I never know what I'm going to run into, and they always go in cool directions. So, what was it you had to say? I'm still curious.
I don't really, like, right now I'm just kind of brain dead. I don't know. I'm just kind of foggy right now.
I was meaning for your live talk earlier because I didn't, like I said, I never had a chance to hear it. So what did you have to say earlier?
It just kind of came through me, like it was just something that a lot of stuff just comes through me, and usually if I'm paying attention enough, I'll sometimes have to go back and reread whatever I wrote or re-listen to or whatever. But I don't even remember what my talk was about, to be completely honest with you. Just. I don't know. I'd have to look at it. It's been a rough day.
Yeah. No, that's perfectly fine. You said that you were like just taking care of your kids. Are you in a situation where they're not around all the time, or?
No, they're not even my kids. They're friends' kids, and she works all the time, and I'm just helping her out. And I have a situation with my son, and it's a long, sad story. But
yeah,
when I'm writing a book for him, and when the time comes, I'll be with him, but I can't be present with him now, but I'm present whenever I feel he's upset or whatever.
Yeah.
But we have a real close connection, but it just kind of, I don't know. It seems like the people like us have the worst, have the biggest hurdles to kind of come over in life, and it's rough sometimes, but I I get to hang out with kids half the day, and I'm like, I'm happy about that because kids are awesome. They're so in touch with the the spiritual side of things. They just know, they're intuitive.
And a lot of people seem to kind of dismiss um, what that is. The number of times I've seen people just completely override or utterly dismiss what is happening in the like they basically it's like it's just kid stuff or imagination or the rest of it, like it's just utter dismissal a lot of the time for a lot of people. Can't say everybody because there are people that pay attention. I try to. That's not all the time, but I guess that's kind of the thing about me in particular is that I always seem to identify one aspect, which is I'm consistency is what I'm always working on all the time. It's like, how can I be more consistent in the things that are good, that matter, and make a difference in all of this. So yeah, I mean 100% they are definitely far more intuitive than the rest of us because they don't have all the, I mean, to be frank, they don't have all the extra bullshit in their head yet, and
Right,
they don't have to fight through it. Yeah, their cups are empty, so they don't have to keep going and trying to empty it out themselves. Big old shovel.
And like one of my things I want to do, like one of the things I really want to put together is, you know how the elders and the children would always, like in villages and society before it became what it is today.
Mm-hmm.
The elders and the children would work. The elders would take care of the kids because the parents would be hunting or out in the fields or doing whatever, and
Yeah.
that just doesn't happen anymore.
No.
And it's they're losing so much as a society by dismissing that.
Well,
And
there's the
I'd like to
phrase of it takes a village to raise a family, and
oh, for sure.
that was kind of like in the presence of trying to do, it was acknowledging the fact that it's, when you're raising a family, it's not that you're just by yourself with your kids. Like this extraordinary sense of like ultimate separation. Shush.
He's
Yeah.
wanting to talk too.
Yeah. Yeah, so, but I mean, the sense of absolute separation that seems to come in with so many things is just a painful thing to watch. Everybody seems to think that they're separate from somebody else, and that's like, my family, my stuff, my, like it's this hugely exclusionary type mindset where they're trying to cut out, well, most of the time it's usually under premise that it's cutting out, things that really matter in terms of like threats. And it's like you can't sever threats. You can't protect anything. That's not what we're here to do. Protection actually has a tendency to cause a certain degree of weakness in a person. If you protect somebody from something, obviously you have to when it comes to a certain degree, like an intensely threatening issue, a child can't handle, so you have to protect them from that. But if it's within their sphere, they should deal with it, and they should deal with it to become stronger. Otherwise, they don't. And simply that's all there
why
is to it.
Like my situation, like his mom, my son, he was coached into saying that I abused him, and I've nothing, I've never,
Yeah.
I've nothing but loved my son, and taught him the ways that I was learning, and we learned together. Like we're walking down the road one day, he's like, "Dad, call your spirit animal the owl." It was the middle of the daytime, and I was like, "Buddy, owls don't come out during the day." As soon as I said that, an owl flew over my head, landed in the tree next to me, and there's a pair of nesting owls there.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, this kid knows what's up. And but yeah, he chose that path, and I can't. I fought. I gave about everything I did for trying to fight for my son, and then at some point I just had to say, okay, this is the path that he chose also, so I can't. There ain't no.
Yeah.
It's the way it is.
Yeah.
And
it's the
it's
funny
rough,
thing, I don't have anything but empathy for that kind of thing. Given the fact that in my situation, my whole home life and the rest of that is not. It's been fractured also. I am not as in bad of a situation in the sense that my kids and my relationship with them is distorted, like what you're talking about. In this case, they're actually a lot stronger wound to it, but they were coached very much to do and say, and they were, there was a lot of attempts to try and implant memories and do all kinds of stuff because
my ex was very, very strong-minded about how she wanted to do this, and she had a plan of attack that she executed with rather horrifying precision when it came down to it.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah, it was
there's
just
nothing more vicious than a woman trying to protect her children. Like, they're thinking they're protecting them.
well, and the other thing
But I
too is
mean,
that she wasn't protecting them, and she knew it. She was protecting herself,
well,
and she was protecting her own meager sense of standing, because it was, unleash the Facebook book mobs and get the police involved and do all these things and spread
it
rumors and
was her ego.
lies and a lot of that.
She's got a lot of shedding to do, and
Oh
that's
yeah,
what I say about my ex-wife is that I just hope she heals. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I hope no, I can't even say that word, but yeah, it's hopo ono or something like that. I don't know, but
yeah,
it's
yeah,
thank you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you.
yeah.
In any order, and it works. It helps. It won't change what's supposed to be, but it
Well, so
helps
what's
you
funny
heal.
is I talk about that. You're talking about changing what's to be. I've been kind of on this trek, and it's sort of weird, but the reason why you mentioned earlier that we seem to be those of us who are walking more of a spiritual side of things on a common basis. The
Yeah,
the real thing that we're learning is not to change our outward condition. That's not the point. Outward
right.
conditions will actually bend and yield to someone who is in a different state internally.
Well, for sure.
And,
Yeah,
if it's one of those things where it's like, I guess if I were to use your example, since I feel pretty close to that in that sense, because for me, I hear that sense of like longing, despite the fact that you were trying to, only, moving forward, but there's that sense of longing. At least I pick up on that. Don't know if it's the tone of
yeah,
voice or what, but that sense of longing is, um, you know, part of what distorts the present reality, right? And
right. Yeah,
it's really difficult. It's an extraordinary challenge to push yourself into a point where you're not longing, especially when you're not longing for someone in your life that you have a deep connection to that you don't have the same access to anymore. That is that's a really, really, really hard lesson to go with. Um,
I was preparing myself for that moment, so because like we have this connection, and when me and his mom first split up, and she had drug problems, and I had my son full time. I was
yeah,
working a job, like I was working as much as I could and still paying her child support, and I was just trying to pay bills in my own place, all the bills by myself. It was just way too hard. And then she decided to go to treatment, and the place took in children with the mothers,
ah,
and they took the child away from me, and
mm-hmm,
because I worked too much, and I'm just like, okay, I don't work enough. I'm a deadbeat dad. If I work too much, I'm a neglector, or it's just the way the system's set up is so screwed, and it's I can't change that. So what I change is what inside, and my connection with my son. It's like if he feels upset or anything, I can feel it, and I can be there. And I've always told him, I'm like, I'm right here with your heart, and he knew it. He knew magic. I taught him that, and it's
uh,
that's what gets me by.
so
That's what helped me the most.
yeah, let me, if you don't mind, I would like to ask a couple of questions. Just like you said, you taught him magic. I'm kind of interested in certain things, especially with the spirit animal comment. So, are you Native American? You don't have to answer.
I did my genealogy. I'm like 132nd, and
Ah,
it doesn't matter. Like, I mean, I'm not pure blood anything. None of
no,
us
well,
are.
neither am I. I'm
And,
I'm pure blood mayonnaise. That's
yeah,
that's
me too. Or Heinz 57. I was like, Heinz 57. But like the spirits of the land just they came to me, and they started talking and telling me things and telling me secrets, and some
I
things I just blurted out because I was just so excited about it, but
yeah,
people
no,
didn't
that's it.
understand.
So
And
that right there has got my interest, like really, really deeply got my interest. I'm always fascinated by that stuff, especially from a spiritual context. There's always there's always like this element of mystery and disillusionment, and like trying to become more empirical and more of this. kind of thing. And I guess what's interesting is that on this platform, I don't really feel compelled to sit there and conform to various norms and say these things do not exist. Well, in this case, I conform in a different way, which is I haven't experienced A, B, or C, or I do not know A, B, or C, and I just stick to that because those are true, while I may not know the rest of it. But I love anything that deals with that.
There's this guy on here talking about like he was. Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
But yeah, I'm sorry. There's this guy on here talking about he was CBS or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my goodness. And I judged him, and I'm like, oh man, what am I doing? I can't do that. There's something wrong inside me to think that this guy is crazy or whatever. Like I've felt bad for myself in the moment for being like, man, you dummy, why are you doing this to yourself? Because he's me and I'm him, and like it's just the whole connectivity.
Well, judgment of other manages to include judgment of self, which is what you just said. Even referring to yourself as a dummy, it's like, that's personal judgment, man. Go easy. Yeah,
right. Yeah, I did. I took it easy on myself, and I listened to what he had to say, and it, I don't know if it's true or not, but that's fine. Some of it resonated even. It's just have to look at it different perspectives. It's hard to look through other people's eyes.
I think in my case, I do that deliberately. I had somebody on here. What was his name? Shoot, I don't remember his last name, but he was. So, I am probably far closer to something considering agnostic than I am anything else. If I were to be tapped into a specific, if somebody were to categorize me, agnostic is probably the closest that you'd get. But I don't. I try not to attribute myself to one specific line set. I think it would cause me to start thinking about it in ways, because if I identify that as me, then I will start doing things in a limited way, and I want to be able to respond things more broadly.
We put ourselves in boxes, man, and we say this is what we are, and then once you label it and put it in a box, there's boundaries there, there's edges, and there's really no end.
Well, and there's nothing. You're right.
I don't subscribe to anything. I just whatever feels right in my heart. And it's just like, I just follow the rabbit holes, the little clues left behind.
Yeah.
And beautiful.
Well, the thing about that is that whenever I heard that there is no door, no wall, no window to crawl through, we all make that up. That's our personal self constructing something that it sees as being reasonable to explain why we're doing weird stuff. Like spending our time suffering all day. Like, that is a weird thing to do. That's a weird thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird because we're not naturally like that. But that goes right back to this guy that I was talking to, Jess. A delightful person. Spoke to him, and he's very, very Christian, and I am not. And it's one of those things where his context, best I could tell. Now, this is not me putting words in his mouth. I need to be very clear with that. What I garnered, what I perceived his opinion to be, was that there are two forces inside of one's soul that are in conflict with each other, meaning that we are naturally evil individuals who are trying our best to climb out of the muck and mire of our own darkness, basically. And I'm thinking, to me, I was just like, there's a part that resonates with me in that sense of discussion, in that we are finding ourselves in darkness a lot of the time and trying to crawl out of it. But I disagreed with the premise that we are naturally dark and crawling upward. I'm like, no.
Right.
We've cast ourselves into shadow, but we weren't shadow first. It's as a matter of fact, shadow's the vacuum. That's the emptiness, right? Whenever you're thinking about light,
it's like a chicken and an egg, kind of.
They're both respondent of each other and cannot exist without one another, right? But you have to realize that what the illusion is the shadow itself. In other words, all those negative things that we portray ourselves as, all of that is a play acting bit. The reality, the real center, the center of that Tootsie Roll that is us, is actually something greatly more powerful. It's like Abraham Hicks says all the time, it's the power that creates worlds. And that's exactly what we're playing with here, is that we're trying to understand what it is to be in shadow, and then learn from that, because we're trying to see what isn't us as contrast to what we are. And what people call evil is contrast, and then you realize that shadow isn't, it's not there as the enemy to defeat, or you'd be punching yourself in the face. Um, it's like if you were standing in front of a mirror and you punch outward and you just collide hands. Like it's that exact same premise. What it's there to do is demonstrate what it could be like if there was no actual love, bliss, joy. If that wasn't our natural state, where would we be? And that seems to be the evidence, is all of that nasty, hedonistic and carnal and hateful, resentful, all those dark things that we play with all the time. That deep sense of negativity is where we land if we don't have the baseline. That is what it would be, empty. And funny enough, it is emptiness, because it is the fiction. It's the fiction we've used to teach ourselves.
They say the shadow's like our shame, stuff we are embarrassed about, something we're shameful about.
I can definitely come through that way.
But like, that's all dictated by society. The only reason that we feel shame is because what society deems as shameful. It's
that's how
like
it
if we're a
starts.
blank slate.
Yeah. That is definitely how it
all right, I was molested as a child, but I was like probably 6 or 7, and it was my aunt, and she was a slow. She had like mental problems, and like I don't know. I felt good. It felt awesome, and the only thing that really hurt is just how they shunned her from the family, how they made me feel shameful, and how it was just the people around me made it horrible. But I'm not saying that's good. I'm not saying that's right. But
well,
when
if it's okay if I intersect on that, because that's actually an incredibly vulnerable place for you to be and to release. I mean, that's wow. So I'm going to throw this out there as far as like an interjection, because what I appreciate is your ability to perceive on multiple sides and not just garner yourself from a single position, right? And it's what is good in your perspective is specific to you, and like in your case, obviously, if it did damage, there is a negative after effect or a negative consequence for what had occurred, right? And then only you can be that particular judge as to whether or not something needs to be done in order to correct the situation. But what's interesting is finding yourself in a position where you were empathetic to what most of society would consider to be your attacker. And I don't know. That's something that is missing, a certain sense of unconditional understanding or empathy. Even if you're sitting going, oh my gosh, this is like awful. It's awful. But you still stood in the position of non-hatred, which people can't
I've never
do.
Like, I don't know.
Most of the time.
I've never hated anybody. Like I've never been able to be malevolent. I've never. Right. I don't know. I've just never had that.
Do you ever find yourself in a position where people assert themselves on that as saying that you're more or less weak or spineless? Have you ever had that happen?
Yeah, and I've let people think what they may of me. I just, I punched one guy one time, and like he spit in my face, and he cornered me and started hitting me, and I just knocked him out. I felt horrible, but I didn't want to do that. But you corner a bear.
Wow. Yeah. No, that's that. Yeah. Holy cow. Yeah, that's fascinating. You're all talking about, it's like, I've never wanted to be malevolent. I haven't hated anybody. And then you talked about like the only person you really struck out against was the person who spit in your face. And I'm thinking to myself, going like, my homie, I understand that. I don't do spit. That's the one thing that's kind of a propellant for me to get me right into this. Like, you don't spit on me. There's a lot of stuff you can do, but spitting is definitely a no-no. It's a very I have a hard time with that one, and I should see that's what's so hilarious about any of this work, is that anything that really sets you off, like in my case, I'm certain that if I were to go to some sort of spiritual teacher, they'd be like, all right, you're going to go to the town square. You're going to be dirty as hell, and we're going to find a place where they basically treat you like crap, and they'll probably spit on you a lot.
Yeah.
And that's what they probably do, which is why I don't show up at school. because I'm not
Oh, man.
interested in doing that right now. I want to go at my own pace. I don't need to go through at full power, learning how to be more spiritually enlightened by having a bunch of saliva slung at me.
Right, yeah. I mean, unless you're getting paid. I mean.
Well, then I'm not learning, right? Because then it's like, I'm not learning to endure it myself. I'm going for the paycheck.
Right. But people do that every day. Like they get up and
Yeah.
go to work and like they get spit on. They don't really.
You're right. It could be metaphorical too. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is like it's every way, I guess. But
Yeah.
hey, yeah.
I don't know. I'm trying my best. I think that's what's working for me right now, especially if I had to put anything into it, would be that everything in my life is a spiritual practice. Period. No matter how slow or fast. Probably especially the slow bits. Like if I catch myself getting bored, I'm going like, hold it. Why am I getting bored? Because there's so much going on. And it's like, and I every single time I hit that point, I find myself going back to it's just ego talking. It's the ego trying to convince me that there's something less interesting happening.
And then the spiritual ego gets in there.
Yeah. Well, and they can tell you all kinds of stuff. But regardless of whatever's going on, I just watch very carefully how I'm feeling all the time now. And I've been doing that for a while. And watching how you feel is critical. It's critical.
Yeah.
It is.
We have to check in with ourselves.
Yeah. Well, it's the fulcrum that everything balances on. Okay? It really is.
And like you said, Tootsie Pop, like in the center of a Tootsie Pop.
Yeah.
Like that's how I was awoken. Like, like have you ever heard of David Icke? Or I don't know.
No, I haven't.
My brother sent me a video.
No.
He all right. I was just walking around the yard, and this tree was on fire. And it's been on fire for 3 days. The fire department came for it, and it wouldn't go out. And I just had all these little things happening here and there. It's like really strange. And then like my feet locked to the ground, my hands raised, and there's a pillar of light over me, and I was gone. I was off this earth. And I sat with our creator. It was just a big guy next to me. I could just feel his presence. It's like sitting on a cliff, and we watched the earth get created and destroyed several times. And like it was like I spent, I don't know, 100 lifetimes or more sitting right there next to him. And then like a split second later, I was back in my body. Like a split second went by here, and it was like my soul had the experience of every life I've ever lived. And I don't know, it was. I thought I was Jesus Christ. I thought my family thought I went crazy.
Yeah.
It was scary, man. Like I didn't know what happened.
You had an experience that was very similar to my own. Laying on that Reiki table and then just jumping out of body for some reason. I haven't been able to recreate that experience intentionally, but unintentionally that was something
I'm trying to right now.
Yeah.
They called it a Kundalini awakening is the closest thing I've figured it to be.
That's probably close to it, but I think so. The thing about that is the physical structure that our bodies are vehicles. You should be. So imagine being trapped in your car and not being able to go anywhere, right? Like if you were trapped in your car, you would hate it soon. It'd be awful. But we dream, and that's basically the same way as getting out of our car. But most of us do it half asleep, right? We're just kind of like mumbling around and kind of stumbling on things, and then we get back in the car before we wake up. Those of us who can actually start to learn how to do it intentionally, it's like we park the car and we go running around for a while, and we're able to perceive things differently because we can get out of the damn car. And it's something that we can do intentionally. And it's really important that we start to understand that we can do that. We can hang out in the physical, meaning we can hang out in this car, and we can go places, do things, have a good time, but we can also jump ship for a while and then come back. And we should be able to do that as we please. We just forgot that we could.
What if you could take the car with you?
Right? That'd be fun too.
Like
I think there was some kind of weird practice that allows you to do something called stealing from the earth, where you can actually consume an obscene amount of physical food, and you don't actually, I don't know what happens to it, but apparently in certain yogic traditions in specific, you can do this thing where you basically store energy in a non-physical sense using the physical material. It's a really crazy thing. It's cool though.
Wow, that just like that totally clicked something in my brain here. I can't tell you exactly what, but I'm gonna have to think on that because that's because I've I don't know, like everything that's happened in this like timeline right now that we're in, like I remember my heart was on the left side. It was more off to the left, and now it's centered. My kidneys were lower in my back, and now they're about mid back. There's a whole bunch of different things that are physiologically centering and becoming. There's a reason behind it, you know.
Yes.
And it just yeah, something clicked right there when you said that.
Well, that's funny.
I
You
don't
brought
know
up
what it
something
is.
that clicked in my head. I forgot that the physicality of that happens when you start doing these things. They stop separating outward and they kind of come inward. Forgot entirely about that because
Right.
everything's aligned along the spinal column. You've got about 14 seconds before you drop off.
All right, man. I'm gonna get off here. I'm gonna get talking to my spirits over here. You take care, man.
This was a pleasure, and you too. I really enjoyed this conversation. I really appreciate it. Whew. Damn, that's cool. I don't know. I've met some really interesting people on here. One of the people that come across in a similar vein to Michael here is that it was the guru lawyer, and the fact that she just pegged all kinds of various things without me knowing anything about her. She just came right in and started talking about certain things and jumbled me up hard. Like I was listening to what she was having to say, and I was all over the place at the start of it. And then I just started listening very carefully, and through some of the really rapid fire conversation that I was having, she just dropped bombs, man. I still have notes, as a matter of fact. I'm gonna actually go ahead and pull them up real fast because, my God, these are cool. I know I'm supposed to look into an Alice Walton. I don't know who that is. There's a book called Awaken the World. I think it's by Alice Walton. I'm not sure. I checked into the 4 Agreements. She said the name Anunnaki, and I haven't had that around in my head for a very long time, but that popped in there, and I was like, oh, that's crazy. I'm going to start looking that up. And then there was this book called The Ring of Thoth, and then she mentioned something about emerald tablets, and then somebody else mentioned the Celestine prophecy that I talked to as well, and I don't remember their name, unfortunately, but it goes right along the same lines. I track this stuff. I'm keeping track of it all the time, trying to understand exactly what the hell all this is. Open-mindedness is a scary fucking thing for a lot of people. It's hell, it even makes me a little nervous at times. I mean, the conversations that I have, they deal with very deep-rooted, vulnerable issues sometimes. Take my last guest. Some of the things that he was saying were strong, man. I mean, to make admonishment of his past, and to have, because I didn't hear anything, and I doubt that anybody else would have heard anything either, that there was anything truly hateful about the circumstances, right? And it's just, it's a very powerful thing to know that what we're told is only the smallest sliver of the reality in which we inhabit. And our perceptions are not wide enough, and we have to start making them wider all the time. It's really, really critical that we make them as wide as humanly possible, and then stretching them far beyond that as much as we can manage too. So it is, I don't know, that's the reason why wisdom for me, like this application in particular, is just such an important element, because it allows us to actually explore some of these areas that are not being explored by people who have much greater trouble trying to get around what they need. And that's usually because they're being blocked either by their own sense of needing money, or not wanting to change their lifestyle, or their own personal choices to maintain themselves over everyone else. Or it might be out of fear in a different way, where they know if they speak out, things will happen and they'll suffer reprisal or reprimand or worse, and they have to just stick to the status quo so they can have a peaceful existence. And there's nothing wrong with finding yourself in those positions, because you have to work with what you have. So, and it looks like we've got William Blackfox coming in. I haven't talked to him in a while. Let's go ahead and have a conversation. I think we might be able to just pull it off too. Hey, welcome.
That would be great. That would be wonderful. Hey,
It's good
how's
to see
it
you
going?
again. It's going well. It's going really well.
You too. Yeah, I was listening to you and thinking about the wisdom app here, and I think it's partly the reason that people open up so immediately to each other on here is the little bit of anonymity factor.
Yeah.
We put down our bios, we put down what we want people to know about us, and then we put down our topics, and if it's under hobbies or spirituality or hobbies like yours or a comedy or
Mm-hmm.
uh, addiction or recovery, and we can then just talk because that's the information. You have that information you to see that we are, and then we can talk about anything in any way that we want to, and we can be honest because you can't really see me. You can just hear me, and
There is that.
I think it's an anonymity issue
Yeah.
that allows us to be so open
Yeah.
about
Well,
things in our life, and people can get very open on here.
yes, they can, and I appreciate it actually. I think it needs to happen in a
I
more
do too.
secure way, anyways. And in my
Mm-hmm.
case, I'm kind of doing something of a bit of the opposite here. I'm actually diving headfirst directly out of the anonymity phase. Like I said before, this particular live talk is actually on Twitch. I'm streaming that out now. I'm going to be pushing that to the
Cool.
channel, and I'm going to be making a big song and dance out of it. And this is going to become a regular deal, especially since all the audio worked and the scene worked. And I spent about 4 hours until about 2 o'clock in the friggin' morning, happily, mind you, just building all this stuff. It's basic, but it does the
Mm-hmm.
job. And I was stoked as hell to get off work just to get here. Um,
Yeah, I
it's
look
just
forward to getting to have a little bit of time to hop on and say hey and chit chat or laugh or talk serious about whatever a topic may be.
yeah, yep.
And
Well,
I want to expand it more. I want to do more, and I'm taking notes and writing down ideas of different things, different topics to have for different days and things like that. So,
yeah.
but I'm just beginning still. So,
Well, and like I said, I'm definitely my niche happens to be something in this area right now, at least for the moment, alongside that of
mm-hmm.
like tabletop role playing games, and I don't know how to mix the two. Although that's becoming more evident the more I go through these kinds of discussions. I'm becoming much more aware of how to split and do what I need to do in order to make things work, and it's really cool that I can do that. I'm, but really, honestly, I love talking to the people that are here. I really like talking,
Yeah.
like, like the fact that I can be familiar with you in particular, because like I said, whatever it is, I get really familiar with the people that I'm talking to for,
Mm-hmm.
and it happens quick, and I'm kind of going like, okay, there's something interesting about that, because normally I can't remember people as well. I can remember maybe what they're wearing, but I see somebody pop in and I'm like, oh hey, yeah, that one time we had that discussion, and there's just been this
Mm-hmm.
this whole business about it, and then I really enjoy being able to come back around to do that.
Yeah, and I even met with two of my uh, wisdom family members over
Yeah.
the weekend.
Oh
They
yeah.
happened to be in my town, and we got together and we walked around the flea market. It was one of the local things to do around here
Oh, I
that I
miss
like
flea
doing.
markets. Oh my god, I
And
miss them so hard.
yeah, we walked around the flea market for a couple of hours and talked and had a good time. And I had to get back to I lived here in the town, but they had to get back to where they had to go, and with a couple of hours away for one and several hours by plane for the other. So,
That's
but it
cool
was
though.
great, and that's something I never did, uh, think about happening with this app. I
Yeah.
thought, we'd just be friends. I did it on Facebook when I was on there years ago, and people would come into town and meet them somewhere. I had a favorite spot to meet people, and it was a bar that had a photo booth in it. If
Yeah.
they wanted to stay and have a drink, we could stay. I can drink soda, but we would, cram into that. If it's just two of us, three of us, four of us, we'd cram into the photo booth and and just keep putting quarters in until everybody had, their souvenirs to take home from that photo booth, pictures in the photo booth. And I like doing that, because I had a friend from Australia and from England and uh, uh, um, Scotland and Ireland, from Brazil, one from South Africa.
Whoa.
So that's quite a good collection of friends there and little photo booth photos.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah.
And I wouldn't mind doing that with this. But we couldn't. We had to meet in the morning. Of course, the place wasn't open in the morning to use the photo booth. So maybe I'll buy one and put it out at the flea market and just take everybody to the flea market.
Why not? Oh man, I miss flea markets too. I used to get all kinds of cool stuff out of there. They were always my
Oh
favorite
yeah,
places. I'm obsessed with markets, and I don't know why that's the case. Not
oh,
sure
we got
why.
stuff here. We got the South and on the ocean too. South Carolina, where
Yep.
we got the Wicker Barn, the Pottery Barn, these huge buildings that's full of wicker and pottery and all kinds of stuff. They got the boot warehouse and the shoe warehouse and the different warehouses that are just like a pottery barn, but they call it a warehouse. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Well,
they're all over.
yeah, like the flea markets in particular, where I actually kind of, because it's usually much smaller people with much more interesting stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's an old-fashioned thing. It's kind of like I think of flea markets anytime I ever talk about something in a game that I run or whatever else. Whenever you talk about those open air or hawkers markets, like those are the
Yeah.
places to be because you get all kinds of cool stuff that way.
Yeah. We have two on the same road. They're about a mile apart from each other. One is the number one flea market, and it's just an open air. There's no closed buildings. Well, they bought a building down from it that is now a closed. It's an inside flea market, which is kind of neat. But the flea market is just open. It's just they have awnings over the sidewalks, and it's just open. You walk through. There's no, the air blows through everything.
Yep.
Like it used to be. And for years, that's all we had. The barnyard is more updated, but it has some walls but it's still pretty much an open air market.
Yeah.
But it's more secure as far as having a good solid roof, not just a cloth roof over the whole thing.
Yeah.
Over each aisle. But and then in Anderson, South Carolina, about 2.5 hours away, I think they have a flea market that you have to go spend the night to go through the whole thing. So.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm curious, actually, as a minor segue. Because I was just thinking about this, and I wasn't sure if you actually had heard of any of this stuff. If you recall me mentioning, I don't know how early on you jumped in, but I was looking at some of my notes here, and what I was finding was that have you ever heard of Alice Walton or like The Ring of Thoth? Any of those books ring a
Yeah, I
bell?
heard you mentioning those people, but no, I don't believe I have.
I'll have to look into getting
The
one of
Alice
these.
Walton I know.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard of. And you said she wrote a book?
Alice Walton? Yeah,
Yeah.
something like that. I think if she wrote Awaken the World, it might be a different author. I was going so fast. I mean, I'm telling you, man, the Guru Warrior in particular, she was just
Oh yeah.
she was letting it off quick. Like I was trying to like catch up.
Yeah, exactly. She is quick.
Yeah. Well, so the good news is that some of the things that she had instructed to do, I was actually able to take care of. Namely, I've got my bed facing north. I've had probably some of the best sleep I've had in a very long time. I've had less than 6 hours of sleep because I was up at around 7:40 and I went to bed around 2:40. So I only had about 5 hours of sleep last night, and I woke up really nicely. Like it was just
Mm-hmm.
popped out of bed, was really good to go. It did take me a little while because I'm still sluggish in the morning, but I'll tell you what, that shift made a huge difference. The room is a lot wider. It's the feng shui is in a much better condition at this point.
Mm-hmm.
That all that stuff is working out much better. And like I said, all these recommendations for the texts and things, and I've been still trying to listen in on a bunch of what people have been saying. And the cool thing is that now that I have Wisdom on my PC and how I can operate it like this, I can listen to these things while I'm working, and I can start accumulating more and more information as I'm going along. Um, I
Yeah, I put my earbuds in and leave it on and do my work and walk around and walk the dog and I got the earbuds in and I'm listening to people on wisdom and I'm gonna try that. Yeah, I'm gonna try that too.
yeah,
And so far I've tried a few things and I like them. They worked out good.
I really want to find a way to hook a ground wire to my bed and have that ground wire go into soil. I want to try and do that because there was a study in oh shoot, who was it that brought it up? I'm actually gonna go looking real quick because I know he gave me a follow shortly thereafter, and I know who it was by the image here. Yeah, Sly Adrenaline. Sly Adrenaline was the one that actually gave it to me. He was talking about a study that came through where they hooked the ground wire up to the dirt underneath the house. And I thought that it was kind of interesting because I remembered something vaguely. When we got done with our conversation, I remembered something very vaguely about the fact that there was a study that went off like that. But he was going off the whole idea because I had said that, our feet and our legs, the bottom half, that's our roots, right? We need to be in contact with the earth somehow. And we have to,
Right,
you know,
right.
and that's how we do it. We stay centered because direct contact with the earth reminds us what's going on, and it keeps the body in
Yeah.
good shape. And if for those of us like myself who don't have access to the ground like we should, because I'm on a bed which raises me up a good 3-ish feet. No, 2.5 is probably closer. It's 2.5 feet, and then there's about 3.5 feet of space between myself and the actual earth underneath because it's on a raised foundation. So there's like 5.5 feet, almost 6, between me and the ground. I'm floating. So it's not really easy to, bring everything up, including the immunity and the rest of it, despite the fact that I actually have a fairly good immune system nowadays. But I know that there would be some serious benefit to being able to do that. So I was thinking about strategizing a way to create like a soil box, more or less, like create a small arboretum, actually have life involved, and then probably something that's going to require lots of dark and moisture so that I don't have to move the box in and out a lot, but attach a ground wire to it in such a way that it's sealed. That way I don't have all kinds of stuff trying to get out of the freaking box. But but get it hooked up to the bed and see for myself if that experimentation has got any merit to it or not. Weird stuff like that I want to try. I mean, why the hell not?
Yeah, why not? Why not? Yeah. It's like I hate to wear shoes.
Yeah.
I can't stand them. I go barefoot as much as I can. In the summertime, I usually have a pair of flip-flops, and I take those off, and if I can, wherever I'm at, and just walk around on the ground, on the dirt, on the gravel. And I got pretty tough feet.
Yep.
And people for years have asked me, why don't you wear socks with your tennis shoes? And I said, because that's just another layer between me and the ground.
Yeah. Yeah, and in my
So if
case,
I have to wear shoes,
yep.
dress shoes, you got to wear socks. Boots, things you have to wear socks. But tennis shoes, I can get away with not wearing any socks. I'm one of those people lucky that I don't have really stinky feet. Now
Well,
my
that
daughter,
is good.
and she'll kick my butt. My daughter will, but my daughter and my ex-wife, her mother, have the worst smelling feet I've ever smelled in my life. And I was in the army, with
Whoa,
men
that is
with
saying a
stinky
lot,
combat
sir.
boots. That's saying a lot, A lot of
That's saying
stinky
a lot.
boot feet. I mean, some people I say, how can you sleep at night with your boots over there screaming, wash me, wash me, wash me?
God, man, yeah, just get some friggin' Gold Bond and spray it in there. Just
Yeah. Once in a while, you just got to, So I'd always wear my tennis shoes in the shower, to make sure I didn't catch any stinky feet stuff.
Yeah, that's smart.
So I had one pair of tennis shoes dedicated to just wearing in the shower, and I'd take one off and I'd wash my foot and I'd rinse it and put it back in the shoe. But my feet would never touch the shower floor or the bathroom floor ever.
Probably wise for the most part if you don't know where any of that has been contaminated. In my case, I live alone, so I don't have to worry about that at all. But I don't wear shoes ever if I can avoid it. Like even whenever I'm in wintertime, sandals. I try to go as small as possible.
Oh, I'll run out. I lived in upstate New York. I'll run through the mailbox barefoot in the snow
Hmm.
every once in a while. Just I get as soon as I come in the house, my shoes come off.
It matters. It really friggin' matters, and that's why this upcoming summer I'm making a kind of a personal agreement with myself to go out and do gardening for an hour a day. Just kind of go out there, check things, get my hands dirty, get myself into the soil, and do all that. Kind of get the blackberry bushes trimmed back and push it out of the way as much as possible. And it's one of those things where I deeply, deeply felt that it was necessary a while back, but the more I get involved with this stuff and the deeper it gets, the more I'm very interested in finding myself getting dirty and getting connected back to Earth again.
Yeah, yeah. And
Because
you breathe in the earth. You breathe in minerals when you're working in the earth. You're gardening. You're tilling the soil. The little bitty particles that you don't even know that you're breathing in are healthy for you.
yeah, well, and the other thing too is that our bodies are incredibly intelligent things. People dismiss it all the time, like more or less. The I mean, like the primary mode of thought, especially in the public, like in public schools, for all that's intended. A lot of that is your body cells do these things in repetition, and there's no intelligence equated to them whatsoever. It's just they replicate, 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 and it's just like they got one job and that's all they do. They're stupid, and it's like, no, there's
I
actually
don't
a
think so.
deeply complex kind of intelligence at work, and there's something a lot more going on. And whenever I started to address that in a real way, like there were changes that occurred rather rapidly, but it had to work from within something that wasn't, physically tethered. If that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
That's why
Yeah,
I started paying attention to the way that I was, because even for me, it's just like the fastest killer of human beings doesn't happen to be cancer; it's stress. Stress kills you
yeah.
faster than cancer, kills you faster than cigarettes, kills you faster than warfare. It's really, really fast. It just, when
It
you
is.
stress out, it murders you, sincerely. It's death for the body.
It is. It is. It causes all kinds of illnesses that you wouldn't have without the stress. You wouldn't. Your stomach's upset all the time, then you're not digesting right. That causes problems with
Yep.
the flow of the nutrients into your body. You're not getting as many that are going out instead of staying in, and the ones that stay in are being uh, watered down, and just not, your whole body doesn't work right when you're stressed out.
Nope. And it will kill you real quick. And cancer is something like, I don't know if you've ever noticed, but a lot of people who get angry a lot have a tendency to be cancerous.
No,
Like,
I haven't noticed that, but uh,
yeah, in my case, like my father was deeply angry and an alcoholic, and he died of really nasty cancer. It spread from his colon, which was hilarious. Uh, in terms of like, really, your little shit pocket? That was what started the whole thing. You should probably have looked at that. And then
mm,
it was spread to his brain, which is again ironic and almost funny in its own way. It's like it cost my half brother and sister quite a lot when he died, and
hmm
that's the part that sucked. It's like whenever we have to pay attention to ourselves in the sense that we have to be loving towards ourselves because we're not the only people involved. We've got so much going on with our interconnectivity, and it's something that gets ignored altogether too often. And it's like sabotaging yourself and dying sooner than you should, so to speak. That's
yeah,
a
yeah.
that's kind of um, it sucks for a lot of people, not just you. And it's like if you love others as you love yourself, then you're going to be all right, even when the worst hits somehow or another.
Yeah, and lifestyle makes a big difference.
Yeah.
My family, my mother and father, uh, my brothers and sisters, they eat every meal has got something fried in grease, got mashed potatoes, got gravy, got all these things that are just, and they eat seconds, sometimes thirds, and
Oh,
uh,
be still,
it
my
doesn't matter
beating
what you
heart. You're
say.
talking my language. That sounds so good, especially right now. I'm so hungry.
Oh, and it's not, it's okay without all the grease and in moderation.
Yeah.
A simple portion for me is fine. I don't need 4 pieces of chicken
Yeah.
that's dripping grease, and I don't need a plate, separate plate, just for the mashed potatoes and gravy. And I think gravy should be in a food group all by itself. But, uh, and I love gravy. And I love these things, but I love them in uh, adequate proportions for me, because my metabolism started slowing down when I was about 25. Before then, I could eat as much as I wanted, anytime I wanted.
Right.
And after that, I couldn't anymore. If I noticed that my weight was going up,
Yeah.
and I was still doing all the exercises daily, the running daily, and my weight was still going up, because you can't exercise will not burn off enough calories a day to keep you fit
Hmm.
by
Well, and
itself. You have to
yeah,
moderate.
that's the thing about that
But then
is
there's
that
people
we've
like my wife who can eat anything she wants and stay skinny.
yeah. Well, the important thing to remember about all that, so oils and sugar are definitely the two things that definitely have
They
a
are.
negative impact on the human body overall. But I have actually uh, I've got like Monkey in here talking about the fact that his dad ate fried food and lived to the ripe old age of 50. I'm sitting there going, I'm only 10 years away from that. I better last a little longer.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, see, my great grandmother didn't eat any of that stuff, and she lived to be 105.
Yeah, well, so the thing is that my plan is to live as long as possible and to die well before I start blowing my asshole out and need diapers. Um,
And this is true.
yeah, I really want to make sure I don't get into that fucking scope of it. but but to enjoy myself. So here's what's weird is that while I know that these things have direct negative impact, I also know that if you can work yourself through it. So I have a very strange body. I am definitely not anything less than thick. I'm not. I would not call myself egregiously overweight. I am not, morbidly obese as the
Mm-hmm.
BMI would dictate. But I'm thicker, right? I've got a lot of muscle mass, and I'm a little stronger
Right.
than people
Yeah.
perceive. There's a lot of that stuff going on. But and I eat primarily vegetarian wherever I can. But I'm gonna tell you, man, I love that stuff. I love fried foods and mashed potatoes and gravy and turkey.
Oh
I
yeah, they're
really,
delicious.
oh yeah, it's absolutely good. Um, but I've learned that if I preempt myself, my system ahead of time, and I go like, hey, listen, we're gonna go ahead and get this whole thing going, and I'm gonna eat this food, and I'm talking to my physical vehicle here. It's like I'm gonna get this food in
Mm-hmm.
me, and it's like we're gonna process whatever's coming in, and we're just gonna take what we can, and we're gonna lose the rest, or we're just gonna get rid of it. And I just
Yeah.
gotta go into it for a few minutes. And I'm like, don't overstress, don't try to break it down if it's too hard to break down. I'm just basically talking to it like it's a person, and I'm just going like, don't bother trying to get too much out of it. And it's like we're doing this for a matter of enjoyment. It's not for a matter of nutrition, because insulin spikes are where things kind of come in. And like I said, the body's got a radical form of intelligence imbued into every cell. Every last one of them knows what's going on. And so what's funny is that if you collaborate with your own physical system, there is a huge difference in how it interacts with the rest of the world. And it's to a
Yeah.
point where it's nuts. And I keep, like anybody who would like to contradict that, I usually point directly at Wim Hof and go like, look at this guy. He literally thinks himself warm, and he can climb Mount Everest in shorts. Okay?
Mindset.
Yeah. It's just gnarly. And there's so much more going on. Like, Wim Hof really did it for me. He's like Superman in my eyes. Like, he's crazy. He knows like 30-something languages, and he's capable of holding his breath for over 15 effing minutes. It's like,
Oh no, that's incredible. Yeah, I didn't
yeah.
know that.
Yeah, no, but he did that with that 15-minute breath hold that he did. So he does a few major breaths, and he went underneath. He was trying to go for a record here. So he dives into ice cold water, and I mean ice cold. There was about 3.5, 4 inches of ice on the surface, and he
Mm-hmm.
dives into a hole, and he had to swim across to another one. It was going to be for some record or whatever. So he had a cameraman in a full suit and all this other stuff so that they could maintain it, and they're filming him, right? Well, he kept swimming back and forth. The problem is that the corneas in his eyes froze, and he couldn't see
Ooh.
where he was going. But he was under the water for 15 minutes trying to find his exit out. And he realized, and people asked him, it's like, were you freaking out? Were you having issues? And he's like, no, no, I was very calm. I was very relaxed. It was fine.
But that's the trick, isn't it? To stay calm and relaxed in every situation.
Mm-hmm. Well, and he's astonishing because they call him the Iceman for a reason, because he does these things in these ice cold temperatures. Like I said, he actually did climb Everest in shorts with no breathing apparatus or nothing. He did it all by himself. And it's like, holy shit. Nobody thought that was possible. Nobody thought
Really?
that it was possible to get up Mount Everest without having breathing apparatus, sophisticated equipment to be able to protect yourself from the summit. Like, yeah. And people, like the people that go up there to do that climb tend to suffer from, if they don't do it right, but oftentimes there's usually some form of frostbite, all kinds of stuff. He did it in freaking shorts.
Yeah. The people, they have to take the shots with them because they get the pleurism or pleural, anyway, where their lungs start to fill up with fluid and freeze.
Yeah.
And they literally suffocate from ice in their lungs. And they take these boxes full of these shots that they have to take every so often that stabilizes them.
Yeah.
So that that doesn't happen. And then most people have problems with that. They go slow as they can to get there because you can acclimate to the lower oxygen up there. It's like doing a halo jump. If you're in the military, you have to jump with oxygen.
Yep.
Because you're jumping from almost the stratosphere.
Oh, wow. Thanks for the follow, Mel. Appreciate that.
So,
or the subscription. Subscribed 7 months. Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's what that was. Been a while.
Cool.
A lot of practice. But, yeah, you're not wrong. That's high altitude, low opening for those people that aren't military inclined.
Yeah.
And those are crazy jumps, dude. You got to be a little nuts to do those.
Yeah. And they only special groups train doing those jumps, and they're only done for special occasions. Someplace where the only way you're going to get there is if they can't see you coming. The only way they can't see you coming if you're coming from way up there.
Yeah. Well, and that is exactly right. You can bypass radar.
It's not something that civilians can't do. They're not allowed unless it's you're the richest guy in the world and you can pay people off. Then you can do it. But other than that, civilian is never going to experience that. Seeing the big blue marble.
Yeah.
Free falling.
Yep.
Seeing the curvature of the earth as you fall.
Yep.
That is something that you never forget.
Nope. There's a lot of people that talk about going up into space using, shuttlecraft, etc., and going up there and, changing their life forever. Actually, seeing the Earth themselves physically from that distance.
They have those flights that you can buy a ticket for to take you right up to the stratosphere, not completely out of the atmosphere, where you got to have heat shields to get through the ozone layer, but take you up high enough that you literally can see the whole curvature of the Earth. Mm-hmm. Look like you're looking at the moon, kind of.
Yeah.
And but that is.
I think I just found myself a bucket list goal. I'm gonna have to do that.
It's something to do. Now, if you join the Army and you pass all your courses and you take the jump school and then you go to the other schools and you can do it for free.
Well, I'd rather just do it without the military training. I'll pay the exorbitant amount of money to get me up in a plane. Thank you very much.
There you go.
I
didn't know that. I didn't know you could do it that way. I had to do it the hard way.
Mm-hmm.
But it is something that is amazing. You never forget.
Yeah.
It's something that it makes you realize that you are just a part of something so big and so miraculous. I mean, I think about the human body all the time. I mean, it's so complex that they can't even make enough supercomputers to do everything that the brain and the body does.
Right, and that's just a part of it. That's just a part of the body, not even the whole thing. That's just one element, one aspect, a giant knot of nerves. They have a hard time recreating that. Well, it's because it's well beyond everything else, and we're at the 25-second mark. Just to let you know.
Yeah, I just I've been thinking about that ever since I had to learn to walk again, and how the nerves and the signals go through your body to move muscles and everything. Yeah. And luckily, having extra nerves and muscles in my body, it helped a lot. But you have a great one. I'll talk to you next time I see you.
Sounds
good.
If
I can get on here with you, and remember, we're family.
Good way to end it. Yeah, no, absolutely. I happen to agree. Um, it's it's fantastic. So I am going to now drop off because I've only got about 13 minutes before the next stream starts and we start doing our shadows business. But for a very quick adage here for everybody that's listening, because we've only got a few viewers so far in Twitch at this point, but to the 48 of you that are listening in on this, you can see the Twitch side of it if you have the ability. It's twitch.tv/dcode, D33 code, and it's spelled just like the name that you see there on your screen. And you can come check this out from the other side of it. And I've got a little bit of music playing and all that other stuff. But I'm going to continue to do these things live in this fashion as much as I possibly can. And I hope to see you there. So as per always, I'll leave you all with love and good vibes, people, and have a fantastic night.